Okay, I got my stuff together finally. All right. Not exactly on time today, but close enough. Close enough. Appreciate everybody being patient. We're going to have a guest join us in the live stream for about 10 to 15 minutes, but not until, well, actually, in about 10 minutes from now, she's going to join the live stream. So I'll tell you guys about that. But first, let me update you guys on what's going on in New York. So there's going to be a flag drop in New York, Times Square, actually starting in front of Trump Tower. And then they're going to march down Fifth Avenue to Times Square and hold like a MAGA rally. So I'll be arriving in New York tomorrow, along with Brian from RSBN. And then I believe we have two camera guys so that one can be providing like an aerial shot. At least that's the plan. The logistics are still getting figured out, but we're going to be broadcasting that live on RSBN. That's this Friday at 2 p.m. I posted the flyer on pretty much all my social media accounts. I forgot to tweet it out, but I'll do that as well. But I posted it on the community tab on my Facebook or on my YouTube channel, as well as Telegram. So if you're interested, show up to that. It's going to be a pretty big crowd. I've been working with Christopher Wright, conservative in New York. He's going to be there as well. So he's helping to promote it. I think there's going to be a pretty big crowd. I think it's going to be a nice turnout. I saw, of course, just like when we posted the flyer for the President's Day event in Palm Beach, of course, people were fear mongering. Oh, it's going to be a storming. It's going to be violent. No, it wasn't. It was anything but. I get it. This is New York. It's different, but people are still trying to fear monger about this. Now, I'm not concerned personally. I'm not concerned about any violence or anything like that because I believe law enforcement is aware of it. And this is going to be broad daylight in the middle of Times Square. I've never been to New York, but I've seen it on TV and I looked at it on the map. We're not concerned about it, right? God is with us. This is a peaceful, patriotic movement. That's all it is. We're just building momentum, and it's going to be covered live on RSBN. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be fun and exciting. Just wanted to tell you guys about that. If you're in the NYC area, feel free to come on out and, wave your flags. I guess it's a flag unfurling. That's what the flyer says. I didn't make the flyer, by the way, but it says a flag unfurling. And I think because they've done this before, they've done like flag drops where they get a massive flag and then they just kind of parade it down the street. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be fun. So hopefully you guys, if you're in the NYC area, show up for this. It's going to be a pretty big event. Now, let me get this chat pulled up here and give you guys some shout outs, and then we'll jump right into it, man. It's really funny. This Texas thing it's kind of funny. But let me get some shout outs first. We got Luciano. Luciano says Mississippi opening up as well. Yeah, I know that. I know. But Texas was the one that broke the news. And then Mississippi followed. So that, we'll get into it. DM, what's up, DM? One of the best moderators on YouTube. DM takes care of the trolls for me. Charles Turner does the same thing. Appreciate you both for joining. And we got Stella. We got Kim. We got some other people. I can't see that. For whatever reason, I can't really see the screen as well today. I think it's because my ring light is too bright. We got Bomb. We got a couple other people. Okay, we got a good enough crowd. Okay, so let's get started. Well, we'll have our guest join first, and then we'll jump in because I want to spend a little bit of time on the Texas. Greg Abbott saying that the residents of Texas can be free again, and I don't know. That's great. That's cool. That's neat and all, but it's like, are we supposed to give them a medal or something? Is it something to be celebrated? Do you celebrate your freedom being given back to you when it should have never been taken in the first place? I don't know. It's kind of like I felt the same way about the impeachment. When Trump was acquitted on both impeachments, like, I know people were celebrating, they were happy, but like if it were me, I'd be breathing a sigh of relief. It's like if you faced a murder charge, you had a murder charge and you were being tried for it, and you were innocent, but you were tried for murder and then you were acquitted. Would you go out for pizza and pop champagne bottles, or would you breathe a sigh of relief? I don't know. I just That's kind of how I feel. I know it's kind of like an extreme example, but that's the best way I can illustrate it. When you're talking about somebody being able to operate a business, go to church, or send their kids to school and just be free and breathe oxygen out of their nose unobstructed, that's something that you should already have access to. You should already be able to do that. So if someone tells you you can't do it and then you can do it again, you should be happy, but at the same time, like, it should have never been that way in the first place. That's just me. Maybe I'm just the weird one. I don't know. But I appreciate everybody tuning in, everybody that supports this channel as well as Right Side Broadcasting. Make sure that you are sub to RSBN and make sure you hit the bell notifications over there so you don't miss any of our events. We were in Galveston, Texas last night for a Scott Pressler event where he is educating people about how to get involved in local politics. Really great stuff as we're trying to kind of navigate these foreign waters where we've been so accustomed to bringing like excellent coverage of Trump rallies that now that he's not holding rallies, we kind of have to figure different things out. So that's why you're seeing like these what seem like random events, but they're, we're selective with what we decide to go with. That's why you're seeing all these different events pop up. So we're trying different things out. It's almost a trial and error period. And we're really banking on this New York one being successful, just like the President's Day event was successful. And there's some other events that are, we'll see if those will work out. But I've got some ideas that I'm going to pitch to RSB and hopefully we'll cover them. But I'm going to go ahead and check with our guest because she's waiting backstage and we're going to bring her on. Her name is Angelique Contreras. I hope I pronounced that right. So I'm going to bring her in and let her tell you her story. Okay. All right. 1 second. Okay. Angelique, can you hear me?
I can, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I want to tell the audience a little bit about what's going on. And then I have the video of what happened queued up so we can share it with them. But you live in West Palm Beach, Florida, I believe?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Now, go ahead and tell the audience what happened to you, I think like 3 weeks ago. Go ahead.
So on the 12th of February at 10:30 at night, I was putting my kids to bed, just wrapping up the night routine with them, and we had a knock at the door. My husband actually was the one that answered the door initially and came and got me upstairs, and I thought he was joking. And I ended up going downstairs to answer the door, and there were unclothed or ununiformed officers at my door with a flashlight in my face. And I asked them to identify themselves. And the first thing the detective said to me was, "What do you want to see? My badge, my gun, or my handcuffs?"
Okay. And what was the reason that they showed up?
So the reason why the officer was at my door was because of a Facebook post. I had shared a screenshot of Palm Beach Post article stating that spectators who are unable to wear a mask are now moved to the basement of the garage. And I clearly stated that it's time for us to recall our commissioners in that post. A friend then commented further down the line and said, well, kind of like Maxine Waters said, it's time to get in their faces, make them feel uncomfortable, show up at birthday parties and weddings. And I just commented, I agree. And he then commented a joke saying, well, I'm just the kind of person that would just want to leave hundreds of bags of garbage on their lawn. And the only 3 words that I replied to his comment were thousands of masks. And that is why the cops came to my house at 10:30 at night.
That is creepy. That is so creepy that for Facebook posts, you can have the cops show up at your door in the United States of America. Now, we've seen videos of this in places like Australia. We saw a woman get arrested in Australia for a Facebook post about her saying she didn't want to wear a mask. You've seen similar things happen over in the UK, but for people that don't know what's going on or they haven't heard anything about this, I want to show the video so that people can see what the interaction was like. And yeah, I'm gonna let you guys check it out. And let me just share my screen here, and then we'll discuss a little bit more afterwards. Okay, I gotta click the audio button here. Sorry, I should have had this queued up already. Here we go.
Hi, Angelique. Yeah. Detective Horton with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. How are you?
Do you have any identification on you?
What do you want? Badge, gun, handcuffs,
Okay.
things. So, all right. Well, the reason why we're here is bothering you on a Friday night is I guess you and some guy named Anthony were posting on social media that you were going to go trespass on a county commissioner's property, dump garbage on her property.
I didn't say that I would dump garbage on her property.
Well, that was the discussion that you guys were having, right? Okay. That's the discussion you guys were having. So the
no,
reason,
it wasn't.
I mean, I can show you the post.
I plead the fifth.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. So, trespassing is a crime. Dumping garbage on people's property is a crime. So, don't do it. Okay. But
Is that why you all are here?
Yeah. Yeah. Today's day and age, man, you're talking about trespassing on,
Didn't talk about trespassing, but okay.
Well, going on somebody's property is trespassing, right?
I didn't say any of those words.
Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. Have a good night. Don't trespass. It's a crime.
So all of this for that? This
Yeah.
is just fear mongering. You know that, right?
Fear mongering of what?
Of a citizen for nothing. For nothing.
Okay. Sorry you feel that way.
I do. I'm putting my kids to bed, and you're wasting tax dollar money to come out here and
Tell you not to commit a crime? Yes.
I'm not committing a crime, and
No,
I
I'm
wasn't
telling you not to commit a crime.
right, and I'm not planning on committing a crime.
Then that's even better. Then we're done.
Okay, I appreciate it, officer.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Can I get everybody's badge number?
Sure. 33093.
33093 and your name? Officer, you're on my property, so your name?
Horton, Horton.
Okay, your name, officer, that were hiding in the corner there?
Stockwell, 18352.
Okay, and this woman that was on my property as well? She's not a civilian. She was on my property. I'd like to know her name.
Mine's on 19477.
I'm sorry?
19477.
But what was the civilian's name? She was on my property. I think I have a right to know that. No, she was on, this is my property. I have a right to know who this woman is.
Here's the deal. We've identified all the law enforcement officers on your property.
But I would like to know who the stranger was that was trespassing on my property.
She is not a law enforcement officer.
But she was trespassing on my property.
We've identified all the law enforcement officers.
Is that right? She was trespassing on my property. She didn't have
No, she was right here on the sidewalk. That's not trespassing.
Sir, she was not standing on the sidewalk. She was actually right there, and I have video evidence of it.
Ma'am, we're not going to debate curtilage. Listen.
Does the woman work for the county?
You pled the fifth?
Does the woman work for the county?
Are you changing your mind?
Does the woman work for the county? I think I have a right to ask questions when you're at my house.
Okay.
She was on my property.
She was on public property.
No, she was on my property. I have video of it, officer.
Ma'am, we're not going to argue. We've identified all the law enforcement officers.
Who was the woman that was on my property?
Have a good night.
Not on the sidewalk.
Have a good night, ma'am.
How do you get to ask questions of me, but I don't get to ask questions of you?
No, you pled the fifth, remember?
Officer, you're playing a game?
I'm not playing a game.
You are playing a game. You are
done.
playing a game. I asked you who this woman was that was on my property.
She's a civilian. And I've answered that question.
But she was trespassing, so I'd like to file trespass on this woman. Okay. She's not allowed on my property ever again.
Okay.
Who's going to take the trespass report?
Okay. Well, if she was on your property...
She was, officer. I have a video of it. Can I get a trespass report for this woman? I know. Can you get your sergeant? I'd like a sergeant. I'm requesting a sergeant at my house. Do I need to call the cops on the cops?
Yet another very concerning.
Little Tyler's at there. That's crazy. That is wild. So what was the fallout from that? What has happened since then?
It's always cringeworthy to watch yourself back in videos like that. But I did do the day after that. It was on a Friday. I did do a Freedom of Information Act request for all of the documents. And then I also did an internal affairs investigation on this because I have been a political dissenter of Palm Beach County commissioners all year during this, I don't even like to call it a pandemic, fighting against the businesses being locked down and shut down, against the mask mandate. So I myself have known locally for being vocal, and immediately I felt like it was intimidation and that the county commissioners were using the officers to go and do their bidding. So I started searching and digging and come to find out there is no CAD report, which I'd like people to understand. A CAD report is very vital to a police officer's job. If they are going out to an address, they have to call dispatch and inform dispatch of where they are going. And they also have to call dispatch when they arrive to that location. And there is no such report for that night. I still don't know who the woman was. The officers did not file trespass on that unknown woman. The officers still have not told me who it is that requested for them to investigate into my Facebook post and to come to my house. So there still is a lot of unknowns that are in the air right now.
Yeah, and I find it bone chilling that this was a thought policing act, right? They were like, make sure you don't commit a crime. I'm just here to make sure that you don't commit a crime because something you said online. So policing your speech and then trying to preemptively prevent you from committing a crime. And then with that woman who I couldn't tell from the video if she's on the property or not, just because it's dark. But if
Right.
she was actually trespassing on your property, a crime actually took place in front of officers and they didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, and that's what was interesting about it, because even, further into the police report, there is a lot of missing information. My husband is from El Salvador and he is very brown, and the officer said that he confronted a white male. They also put the statute for me underneath a domestic terrorist. So the statute that they used for me, that I was going to commit bodily harm or a mass shooting. And it's very scary that they're coming after conservatives and individuals who back the blue, individuals who support our law enforcement. And it's unfortunate that we're dealing with that here in South Florida.
Yeah, they're basically being weaponized. Like you titled the video, the Gestapo. That's what it seemed like. It's wild. And then for the officer who was knocking on your door, he didn't have on a uniform or anything like that. It doesn't look like he showed his badge even, or maybe he showed his badge. That whole thing is just really bizarre. And it would happen in a place that's like, not in a liberal area. I know Palm Beach is pretty liberal, but typically you don't hear about stories like that in Florida.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely something that shook me. Definitely don't want officers at my door. And especially I don't want government to be able to use the police to do their bidding. Unfortunately, we've seen a political atmosphere for many months where the Democrats and the liberals are able to burn things down, able to say whatever they want to say without any recourse. And then we as conservatives, I feel like, are under attack right now in America.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let everybody know where they can find you and follow up on this.
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook under Angelique Contreras. You can also find me on YouTube under that video. I will be posting more updates as we get more information. And then also on Instagram, you can find me under Angelique Contreras as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and telling us about what's going on down there in Palm Beach County. I hope everything works out for you. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
No, we got to make it stop before it keeps going further in America. Thank you, Mike, for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one. All right. That was, guys, that's weird stuff. We are living in some crazy times here in the United States. It's unreal that this would even happen in what's supposed to be a free country where they're trying to stop you from committing a crime ahead of time. First of all, it's off of a Facebook post. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. But let's continue on with this Texas lockdown. Okay, so Greg Abbott announced yesterday that Texas will be able to open up to 100% capacity and that he's lifting the mask mandate. Now, when I heard this, I was actually shocked because I was under the impression that Texas was a bastion of liberty. I thought that Texas was open and free like Florida was. I just kind of assumed that Texas would have been free at least for the last like half year. I mean, since about April of 2020, we've known what this COVID situation was, right? Let's even be a little bit more conservative. I'll say like since like by June, pretty much the whole country should have been open by June. Absolutely. So Florida has been open since June. And I remember when Florida was going through phases because DeSantis did lock down the state, not completely, but he did reduce the capacity that you could have in bars and restaurants and stuff like that. And then cities across the state had their own lockdowns where they shut down restaurants, churches, and everything else. But that was early on in the pandemic, right? But I remember DeSantis said, we're going to open in phases. And I remember going to a protest because freedom doesn't come in phases. You're either free or you're not. And he eventually opened the entire state, but we've been open since summer of all last year. So it's a little surprising that another state that's supposed to be pro-liberty, like Texas prides itself on being free, a republic, they're just now opening. So I was more shocked about that than I was like congratulating them. Secondly, I don't agree with congratulating or celebrating something that should just happen anyway, right? And the fact that he said you're allowed to open your business, you're allowed to take the mask off and operate at full capacity. That's just kind of wild to me. And so it's not just Texas. Mississippi did the same thing yesterday. So it begs the question, what other red states aren't open that should be open? It's not a shocker that blue states are still locked down. Nobody's surprised by that. But for Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, I guess, is not completely open. That's kind of weird to me that these states are supposed to be all about freedom and liberty, and yet they're not open. Now, some people are saying, well, DeSantis needs to do what Greg Abbott did because Greg Abbott said he's lifting the mask mandate across the state. Whereas I think DeSantis, his strategy was there is no statewide order, but counties and cities can handle it the way that they see fit. So if Orange County, for example, the county next to me, I think they have a mask mandate in place. If they want to, crush liberty and make people wear a mask, they can do it. But he's not forcing them to do it. I think that was his strategy. I'm not really sure why he didn't just say that, just say that no county is allowed to do this. That would have been, in my opinion, the way to go. But he's also having a hands-off approach, saying your city, your county can handle it the best way possible, but they're not allowed to enforce it in terms of fining people, arresting people. They can't do anything like that. So he has completely banned that, but he's saying you can handle it how you want. But I just think it's so much better to just side with liberty, side with the individual, because what these lockdowns are, what these mask mandates are unscientific. It's all about control. Do you want proof that it's unscientific? Why did Greg Abbott say that Texas can open up effective next Wednesday? I think that's March 10th. Next Wednesday, they can open up. What's the science behind staying locked down as long as you did? And then when you say, we're going to end the lockdowns, but in 7 days. No, why don't you end the lockdown per that speech? Like right at the end of that speech, in the lockdowns. Why are you waiting another 7 days? Okay, in 7 days, you can take the mask off. So the virus is less, contagious after 7 days. But right now, see, this is not scientific. They're just winging it. They're just going with the flow and just making it up as they go along. And that's why I can't just sit there and be like, yay, Texas, welcome to freedom. It's like, you should have never locked down in the first place. And if you did lock down out of an abundance of caution, which is what I think DeSantis did, you should have ended it last year, based on the science, based on what we know about the hospitalizations, the survival rate, all the data, instead of Fauci's opinion. That's just what I think about the Texas thing. It just rubs me the wrong way that a state like that was still locked down, and they are still locked down as of this live stream. They're still locked down, so you can't even truly celebrate yet. You can't celebrate it until next week. If your plan was to celebrate, you can't do it until next week. Unbelievable. But it is what it is. But I do want to mention this though, because even in Florida, even though we're free, even though we don't have mask mandates, we don't have any lockdowns, these corporations are still enforcing as if it were government mandated, meaning the Hyatt Regency for CPAC, they made everybody wear a mask. Why? I think that this brings up maybe a new discussion that needs to happen about what corporations are allowed to do. Yes, they're free. Businesses can do what they want. They're private businesses. But when it infringes on your rights and your freedom, should they be allowed to do that, especially when that business operates on public land? Should the law of the state, the law of the land, supersede the rules of a corporation? In my opinion, yes, especially when it comes to personal freedom, right? There's a reason why any business you go into, they're not allowed to discriminate. They're not allowed to say, we won't let black people in, but we'll let white people in, because the law of the land is you can't discriminate, right? So a private business can't do exactly what they want to do. They can't punch you in the face the minute you walk into a 7-Eleven just because I'm a private business. They can't do that. So they shouldn't be able to force you to wear a mask when you go in their store, especially if you have a medical exemption. You shouldn't need a medical exemption first and foremost, but you should not have to cover your face to walk into a store or walk into a library or walk in anywhere. You should be able to live your life free. And I think that they should have to at least adhere to the law of the land that they're operating on. So for example, let's say it's a national corporation. Let's say it's, I don't know, Bed Bath & Beyond. Bed Bath & Beyond is in all 50 states. A Bed Bath & Beyond in New York may say you have to wear a mask because the state ordered masks to be worn in all public places. But in Florida, they shouldn't have a mask mandate because Florida doesn't have a mask mandate. It should be that simple. You have to adhere to the law of the land in the place where your business is operating, period. End of discussion. That's at the very least. But the Constitution should supersede even the state law. If the state law is tyrannical, if the state law goes against individual rights and liberties and freedoms, then the Constitution should override it. That document should override any other government law, mandate, order, decree, period. If we just followed the Constitution, everybody would be free, straight up and down. So I don't know what other red states are locked down, but it's alarming that you could live in a red state and still be locked down, still have a mask mandate. And I know a lot of states aren't following them, but they still have a mandate in place. You can't make this stuff up, okay? So let's shift gears because I want to talk about this crash that happened yesterday morning in California. Now it's about, I want to say like 10 miles from the US-Mexico border. There was an SUV traveling on some kind of rural road, 2-lane road, and it looked like it got T-boned by a semi truck. Now this SUV had 25 to 27 people in it. It was a Ford Expedition. 25 to 27 people inside this Expedition traveling through California, 10 miles from the southern border. Now, because this was 24 hours ago, a little over 24 hours ago, it's an open investigation. So I don't want to do too much premature speculation because there's a lot of unknowns about this, but I mean, what does your gut tell you about it? What does your gut tell you about 25 people traveling in an SUV? That's like what? 8 people at the max, I think, can fit in an expedition. If you're counting seat belts, like 8 people, I think. Right? But apparently there were no seats in the back. They took those seats out and there were 25 people riding. Now it's tragedy because, and the numbers have changed a little bit. 13 people died on the scene and another one died like at the hospital. It's a tragedy. So, rest in peace to all the people who died. I guess they ranged in ages from like 13 to 55 or something like that. The driver was killed. They don't know how the accident happened, but it's just devastating. And they don't, I guess a lot of the passengers didn't have identification on them. So we don't yet know if they were Mexican nationals or USA citizens. We don't know. But I mean, what does your gut tell you, man? It sounds to me like a smuggling situation, because why would you need to pile into an SUV like that? I mean, I'm trying to like picture it in my head, what it would look like if I saw a car with 25 people in it. That sounds like, this is ridiculous, man. I can't even visualize what that would look like, how that's even possible for somebody to drive, be able to see where they're going, be able to change lanes. Like, never mind fitting the people in there. How are you going to drive with 25 people in an SUV? And then, of course, because probably nobody's wearing a seatbelt except for maybe the driver, of course, people are going to be, they said it was a gruesome scene, but I say all that, I bring all this up to say, like, there's clearly something going on the southern border, even though Jen Psaki says there's no crisis. There's no crisis at the southern border. Again, it's premature speculation. I don't want to tie it to an illegal border crossing or anything like that, but clearly it had something to do with the southern border being in 10-mile proximity. There's something related to that, because there's no other reason why you would have that many people riding in a car. It just doesn't make any sense. And all of it's because we have such an issue down on our southern border. And it's been so politicized over the years with building a wall versus building a fence and chain migration. There's so much going on our southern border. It's just, it's really sad. If that was a human trafficking situation, it's a sad and tragic ending. I don't know why the comments aren't coming in that fast. It's still showing. Hold on. Let me go to live chat here. Maybe that'll help. Because I really want to hear what you guys say. Maybe if you live in the California area, maybe you have more information than I do. I was looking up the story this morning, and all I saw was that the numbers changed of the people who were on board and the people that died. But it was at least 13 people that died. And some people have survived, so maybe they'll get some information. 25. No, I don't think it was 25 kids, because they said the age range was like 13 to 53 or something like that. That was the first thing that came to mind, though. It's like, if you had 25 people in a car, they better be really small, which would sound like child trafficking. You cannot make this stuff up. What's going on our southern border? We're just scratching the surface of this, guys. I really think it's much deeper than that. We've known this, right? It's been documented over the years. I've seen so many documentaries about what goes on at the southern border and in close proximity to the southern border, like not at the exact fencing line on the US border, but border towns, places that are really close to it. And it just seems really interesting that some of the headlines that came out was like, California crashed, and they were saying about 150 miles east of San Diego, instead of saying like 10 miles north of the US-Mexico border. To me, it just seems like the headline was kind of, I don't know, carefully thought out before they put it out there. They didn't want it to seem like it was related to illegal border crossings or human trafficking. But come on, like I said, man, let's just call it what it is. 27 people in an SUV, 25, whatever the number was, kind of crazy. What else is going on? And then I'm going to wrap up because you guys know I always say this is going to be a short stream. And then the one yesterday was like 3.5 hours. But I do have to actually get ready for this trip tomorrow because I'm flying out early to go to New York. But Dr. Seuss, okay. 6 Dr. Seuss books are now no longer going to be printed or sold in stores because, of course, they're racist. Okay, right. Just like everything else. Everything else is racist. If you just look hard enough and long enough and use your imagination, you can find racism and or white supremacy in everything. It's just the truth. You can find racism and white supremacy in everything. And eventually that's what they're going to do. Ban all the things they don't like because they can call it racist, white supremacy, or the new one, transphobic. That's what they're going to keep doing. So yeah, I get it. You look at some of these Dr. Seuss books and, you know, some of the images are probably a little bit questionable. They're a little bit dated. Okay, a lot of bit dated. There's one image in particular, and I can't remember which book it's from because the books that they're not going to print anymore or sell in stores or whatever, those books didn't even ring a bell to me. And of course, I grew up reading Dr. Seuss books, but none of those sound familiar. I mean, I grew up Green Eggs and Ham, Oh, the Places You'll Go, all that. But this image, I guess, from whichever book it was, is an Asian man, I guess, or boy. And the text on the page says, Chinese boy eats with sticks. And it shows him with the, I don't know what the hat is called, but it's like the pointed hat. And he's walking with a bowl of what looks like rice, and he's got chopsticks, and his skin is yellow. But it's a cartoon character at the same time, right? Like the Simpsons are yellow. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, that is being seen as one of the images where it's got racial stereotypes. And then there's another image where it's like Asian people carrying a white character on their back. And they're like, that's white supremacy. Here's the thing. If you want to say that the images are inaccurate or that they don't, they play on racial stereotypes, okay, that's fine if you want to say that. But to remove the books does nothing. I think you need to leave all of these historical books, statues, et cetera, leave them right where they are and put context around them. You have to be able to teach kids where we were in the past so that we don't repeat the past, right? Put some context around it. There's more to be gained from teaching someone what was so that we don't repeat it versus just trying to sanitize history and hide it all together. That's how I feel about them taking down statues and everything else. You got to leave it where it is and put the context around it. For example, if you want to talk about these Confederate statues and how they're so wrong and racist and promote, they lost the war and all that stuff, put the context around it. You can talk about the Confederacy. You can talk about how that was the Democrat Party. See, they don't want to go too deep on that. You don't really want to dig into the past of the Confederacy and stuff like that. They don't want to do it. They would rather just sanitize their history. And then they want to rewrite it. See, they want to revise it too. Revise history, revisionist history. That's what it's really all about. Someone said green eggs are racist. At some point, they will say that. They will say green eggs and ham is it's insensitive to vegans. So that's just nuts. I don't agree with it, but I'm so like fed up with cancel culture, and it just seems like every day, like at some point it's funny, but when they just keep on going, they just move to the next thing. It just gets tiring. I'm just fatigued of this already. because it's hard to believe that this is where we are in 2021. And they feel emboldened because Biden will back it, right? They removed Dr. Seuss from the reading catalog, or mentioning the reading of Dr. Seuss on I don't know, some reading day thing. Even though it's clear, I mean, it's obvious that it's not real, it's not authentic, because there's that photo with Dr. Seuss in the White House with Michelle Obama. So it wasn't racist 5 minutes ago, but it's racist now. I mean, we could go talk about that all day. Just like the Betsy Ross flag is so racist, even though it was at Obama's inauguration and Biden's. It was only racist and wrong and evil when Trump was in office. And see, this is what people on the left, they don't want to even talk about. They'll tell you it's racist if it's got any connection to people they don't like politically. That's the only time it really matters. And that's why I'm like, y'all are so fake. Y'all don't actually care. They're canceling Americans, transforming the country. They're trying to replace us. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about replace us, I think you mean, I don't know if you mean demographically or technologically. You know, I don't think they're trying to replace anybody. I think they're trying to depopulate. I think replace sounds like maybe some, hopefully this doesn't trigger many people. This is just my perspective. It sounds like a Richard Spencer talking point. White people are being replaced by brown people. I don't know. No, I don't agree. I don't see that. I think no matter what color you are, they want you to take this vaccine. They put glyphosate on everybody's food. Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland. We all got to eat, regardless of your skin color. I think it's just really stupid to focus on racial tribalism when they've already said they want to depopulate the planet. The planet's too overpopulated. So I think that to me, that's a bigger issue than what you're saying they're trying to do. I think it's a big part of immigration. Yes, of course, is building a residual voting block into the future while trying to challenge the sovereignty of America, right? That's what it is. It's an assault on the border, but the impacts of that demographic change, people coming in across the border, affects all American citizens, not just one particular American ethnicity. But those are just my thoughts. I think, like what, Richard Spencer talks a lot about that, just to try to inflame white anger. And he's in the minority. People who think like that are 100% in the minority. There's a reason why their movement shrank. Nobody talks about the dude anymore. He's so irrelevant now that he gets brought on CNN to bash Trump. But that's a whole nother story. They want to force change that way. I'll never take that poison shot, somebody said. They do want to depopulate. See, Stella gets it. You get it. You see what I see. You've heard what I've heard. Like, it's not even a conspiracy. They're literally telling you that's what they want to do. And they're able to disguise it by attacking the middle of the country. I see, again, I go off of a little bit of speculation here, but there's a way to actually modify the weather. Like, China actually is expanding their weather modification program. They can manipulate the jet stream and the polar vortex. And I just think that Texas freeze was convenient. I just think the timing of it was a little, I don't know, little bizarre. Coke wants us to be less white. Can anyone explain to me how to do this? Yeah, I think that's like 2 weeks old now, that Coke be less white thing. There's no need to explain it because it's not real. I mean, it's just cultural Marxism. It's part of the divide and conquer strategy. It's a way to build racial resentment so that blacks and whites hate each other. That's the end game. That's their goal. Because if people are so so brainwashed by that kind of propaganda, they'll have us fighting each other forever while they're stripping freedom and gobbling up land, centralizing power. That's what they'll do, but they'll have you fighting over racism. That's why they have to manufacture it. That's why they have to tell you math is racist now. Racism is so borderline non-existent that they have to actually manufacture it. If racism is so rampant and widespread, why do we ever have a Jussie Smollett pop up or Erica Thomas or Bubba Wallace? Why do those instances pop up? And when they pop up, they get national news coverage. They're like, this is our one shot. Let's run with it. Even though the facts come out and completely contradict it, because they crave it. They crave the division. They need it. They want fear and hate. Fear, hate, division, deception, lies, propaganda, you name it. 1619 Project, critical race theory. Crystal said, Mike knows what's up. I mean, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. And now this is a perfect segue into Governor Cuomo. Governor Cuomo is going down. He's done. That man is done. He doesn't survive this. No way. Especially when liberal news is covering it. That's how you know. It's kind of like he's a sacrificial lamb at this point. He's a liability. So they're going to push him out of the way and he'll be replaced by somebody even more woke. You think that New York will turn the corner? Hopefully it can. I mean, there's this flag wave. Patriots are going to gather in New York City on Friday. You should be there 2 p.m. But let's be real. If Bill de Blasio's speaking out about it, people in Congress, the news is actually covering it, it means that they're all on board with, okay, we got to move him out of the way. So who's going to be next? So Cuomo, at the very least, won't be reelected, but he probably will be forced to resign. And what better way to have him resign and be able to, ease it into public perception than to have these Me Too charges pop up. Me Too, 3 of them. Not that those aren't important. They are important, but he killed people. His actions led to the death of senior citizens, and he tried to cover it up. That is the bigger story. But now these Me Too accusations, these allegations of sexual harassment popping up just shows that they need a real something that's more something that's easier for them to cover, so they don't have to admit that, yeah, this dude was praised, called the gold standard of how to deal with the pandemic, even though he actually let a bunch of seniors die. Imagine if Ron DeSantis did something like that. And we have a big enough senior population, the oldest population in America outside of Maine. Imagine if Ron DeSantis did that in Florida. He would already be in jail. He'd be in handcuffs. He'd be arrested. His whole administration would be under FBI investigation. And the thing is, we've known about Cuomo. We've known about this since last summer. Conservatives have known about it since last summer. And now the left is just now catching on. Like, oh yeah, let's remove his emergency powers. It's like, okay, you got him. It's too much for him to overcome. It's a bad look for us, so we're going to shed that baggage. He's baggage to them at this point. And it looks so bad on them that they were propping him up and praising him. Governor Cuomo is the best. His daily press briefings during the virus, he's handled it so mature. Such a great governor. Everybody should be like him. Come to find out he's murdering people. And then now they got these Me Too allegations. Now that's what they'll cover. That's what they'll cover. Yeah, he should resign for what he did to those women. Just the allegations alone should be reason enough for him to resign. So that it's a convenient way for them to shift the narrative to why he's stepping down. Charles said, communists know it takes time to change a country and culture. This all goes along with the frog in boiling water scenario. It's so true. That's why they're able to be so effective right now, because they can just pick and choose what they talk about. They can bury the truth. They can, revise history. They can praise Karl Marx. They can accuse their enemies of what they're guilty of. They can propagandize the youth. I told you guys about that video. I refuse to play it here, but if you want to see it, it's on Twitter. The Salty Cracker did a video about it this morning. The gay BCs. I mean, put it all together. I remember bringing this up in like 2019, what they're trying to do to kids. This isn't new. People are like, no, that's fringe. That's weird. You're just a conspiracy theorist. Like, they're putting it on Good Morning America. Drag Queen Story Hour. Desmond is amazing. The gay BCs. This Health and Human Services director, talking about sex change for kids, sex education for kids, puberty blockers, changing the biological reality of a child, trying to play God. That's them. They're mocking God. They're saying God made a mistake when he made you a boy or a girl. Let's change all that for you. You're 6 years old. You should be able to make these decisions. But people will pretend like that's not real, like it doesn't exist, like that gay BC's video just didn't happen. Desmond is Amazing was not on Good Morning America. That wasn't a thing. How did people watch that at the time? Good Morning America has a lot of viewers. How did people watch that at the time and weren't alarmed? How are people not still talking about it? I think that kid went on Ellen too. They put it right in your faces. They tell you. Cuties on Netflix. They're trying to ruin kids. That is how you destroy a country. Millennials, yes, we're brainwashed. Not me, but millennials, we probably got the worst of it. But they're going after kids now. That is how you change a country, is you start with indoctrinating the youth. You start them young. But let's talk about, the CPAC stage and how it was a white supremacist symbol and how they're Nazis and all that. And Trump is Hitler. Oh yeah, Trump is Hitler. Who's targeting the youth right now? Just saying. Who else targeted the youth? Hitler, Mao. I'm just saying, man. Speaking of that stage, I'm waiting for more info on this, but I saw Breaking 911 tweet out that the people who designed the CPAC stage actually worked for Biden and MSNBC back in the day, but I'm sure it's just a total coincidence. Either it's not true or it's just a coincidence that the stage ended up looking like a Nazi symbol, which I had never seen in my life until the other day when the left was hyper-focused on the stage, searching for racism around every corner, like they always do, looking for racism, looking for white supremacy, looking for xenophobia, looking for homophobia, Islamophobia. They search for it. They go through everything with a fine-tooth comb looking for it. And when it's not there, they create it. So like I said in the beginning, like 3-4 days ago, when I heard about the CPAC stage being shaped like a Nazi symbol, I said back then, I'm like, that was probably a troll, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't match slap. Like, you know what? Let's try to symbolize. Let's put a subliminal message out there. Right. Let's do that. Let's undermine our conference with a symbol of Nazi Germany. Let's do that. I'm pretty sure that wasn't him. I'm pretty sure that whoever did that probably was trying to undermine the conference altogether. And they were successful because they got a lot of attention. They got what they wanted out of it, so that people would focus on the stage instead of the content on the stage. They had They had Jewish people, they had black people on stage. Just, you can't make it up. Focus on this. Someone said Glenn Beck explained it this morning on his show. Yeah, maybe it was the Blaze who posted that, not Breaking 911. I don't know. The Conservative Patriot US. I'm sorry. I don't know why the comments are slow today. I don't get it. Good to see you too, Destiny. Destiny Gal. Appreciate you. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. And please don't let people fearmonger about this event on Friday. It's just so, like, it's not helpful. We've turned the page on January 6th. We have. That's the truth. We've turned the page. People need to gather in public. I mean, you shouldn't care if it's BLM, Antifa territory. This is still the US. Is our country free or not? Are you going to just be intimidated? Are you not going to gather in public again? You're just going to let them have it? You're just going to say, well, I guess New York's a lost cause. No. People are going to continue to gather, continue to support their country, continue to flag wave, continue signaling defiance of the control structure in place through media, academia, the government, the militarized zone in DC that they, forcefully crammed Biden down on the country. There's no better way to reject all of that than to show your patriotism, be loud and proud with it, and do it in Times Square, New York City. So I hope thousands of people show up. I'm more than excited about it. I'm fired up. And I hope it inspires more events like that. That's how you build momentum, along with the work Scott Pressler is doing and the work other people are doing as far as getting involved in local politics, rooting out the corruption on the local level, understanding how the elections are run in your state. See if you can get rid of electronic voting. I just think it's powerful right now. It's powerful. There's a reason why they wave American flags in Hong Kong. They marched for him. They marched for Trump in Japan. They marched for Trump in Nigeria. They marched for Trump all over the world. They marched with American flags. Yeah, they've successfully conflated Trump with the American flag. It's basically interchangeable right now because Trump represented American freedom and liberty. He stood up for the country. And he's not done. He's still going to go around and, help to elect people who are going to put the country first and have an actual backbone and not be politically correct, not bow to the authoritarian left that wants you to say chest feeding and push all of this garbage, this neo-Marxist garbage on our culture. So I think that that's what is so powerful, that this movement can just grow. Like I said, they're not happy with the power that they have because it's not enough. It's an unquenchable thirst. They want to go completely scorched earth with their totalitarianism. They want to take over everything, including your mind. That's what they really want. They want your mind. If they can control your mind, then they got you. You're basically an ally at that point. But it's the God-fearing, flag-waving, freedom-loving patriots that they hate. They hate it. So there needs to be more and more and more of us, more people. I hope thousands of people show up in New York. I hope more flag-waving gatherings, events pop up as a result. I hope hundreds of thousands of people watch it on RSBN. They probably will. Mike, may God bless you always. Safe travels when you are on the road. Love RSBN. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now with this Andrew Cuomo thing, that should bring more people out. That should bring more people out to gather and flag wave and demand that this man be held accountable. I hope that patriots in Ohio, for example, go out and flag wave and defy the lockdown order of their Republican governor. I'm pretty sure Ohio's not 100% open. They have a Republican governor. Why are they not open and free? That's a red state, should be open and free. I hope there's some kind of protest or something going on in Illinois. Clearly, California, they've got 1.9 million signatures to recall Gavin Newsom. So hopefully something happens there. Whatever it is, we'll try to cover it on RSBN. Stella says, we are not open, Mike. So do you have a rhino governor? Is that what it is? It's a damn shame that Texas just now decided to open up. And the way that Greg Abbott talked about it almost sounded like he wanted to be like celebrated for it. Like clapping your hands because he said you can have your freedom back. You're allowed to be free now after a year, but it won't start until next Wednesday. It doesn't start now. It starts next Wednesday, because science says we can reopen next Wednesday. So dumb. Yeah, DeWine, that's his name in Iowa, or not Iowa, Ohio. Decoys on Governor NY about deaths. He is a bully. Yeah, he's going down. He's going down, meaning he's going to leave office. He's going to leave office, but I have to go on record because you never know who's watching me. This is going to be a peaceful, patriotic assembly in New York. That is it. Peaceful and patriotic. And yeah, this is not my event. This is not. Patriots in New York are hosting this event. So, I can only speak for myself. I assume no responsibility for individuals who show up. They have free will. They can do whatever they want. It's a free country. I still believe that. But if they're looking to undermine and subvert and try to make this movement look bad, it'll be pretty obvious. I mean, it's broad daylight on Times Square, heavily surveilled. Everybody has a smartphone. There's cameras on buildings. I'm not worried about it. We'll be broadcasting it live. I think it's going to be fine. Will Antifa show up? Probably. But again, local law enforcement, Times Square. I'm just saying, I think it's going to be fine. I really do. God watches over his people. I think this is going to be completely fine, just like virtually every other gathering of Trump supporters. Mike coming out with another Kraken. Release the Kraken. Open California. Somebody said, Ohio's my home state. I can't believe that it's not open yet. I can't believe they have a tyrant masquerading as a Republican for their governor, masquerading as a freedom fighter, Mike DeWine. I don't know anything about the guy other than he's a Republican. His state's locked down. And he was putting curfews in place, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had curfews as recently as October. They talk about following the science. They've never followed the science. What is the scientific justification behind closing one entrance of Walmart and having everybody funnel in the same entrance on the other side? What's the science behind, we're going to close down non-essential items? You can't buy grass seed and you can't grow food. We're not going to let you shop in these aisles while you're already in Walmart. We're going to lock you down in your house, but you can't go in Walmart and buy home improvement tools and supplies. Since you're going to be stuck in home, the least you can do is be productive. We're not allowing you to buy that. You can only buy prescription drugs, medicine, food, clothing, bedding, stuff like that. What is the scientific justification behind Gretchen Whitmer, because that was in Michigan, putting these decrees in place, and by the way, infringing on a private business and how they operate, telling you what you can and can't buy? What's the science behind a curfew? The virus doesn't spread after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or the virus does spread. We have a curfew. After 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you need to go home because the virus spreads aggressively after 10 p.m. And it really spreads aggressively if you're at the bar or at a pizza place. But you can go to Walmart, you can go to Target, you can go to Home Depot. You just can't go to the mom and pop places. So dumb. I can't talk. Whitmer did that in March and April. Is that when it happened? Yeah. It was early on. But still, why doesn't the Republican Party kick the rhinos out? That's the long game. That's the plan. Some people, I guess, we didn't know they were rhinos until recently. So there needs to be a better vetting process in place. It's all about control. It's all about control. And how damaging it is to kids. It's just disgusting. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up. I think I covered everything, but I'm traveling tomorrow. I'll be arriving in New York City tomorrow afternoon. I'll be there till I think Saturday. This week has really flown by. But if you are interested, I'm going to see if I can find the flyer. I don't know if I have it on my computer or not, but I want to share the flyer. It's on my community tab either way. And it's on my Telegram channel, and I'll tweet it out as well. But it's going to be in front of Trump Tower on 5th Avenue, Friday at 2 p.m. And then we're marching down 5th Avenue to Times Square, and then it's just going to be a rally. So I don't know how long it goes. I just know it starts at 2 p.m. Feel free to show up earlier than that. They're calling it a flag unfurling, a Trump 2024 flag. Some people are like, what about Trump 2021? I'm like, you should ask him about Trump 2021. He's made no mention of it. As far as we know, he's may or may not run in 2024. His objective is to get the rhinos out and advocate for freedom across the country. I think at least he should. I don't know if he's mentioned a word about the lockdowns, but yeah, anyway, it's a flag unfurling. And I think it's going to be a pretty big flag if the previous events they've held are any indication. So hopefully people show up. Hopefully people tune in to Right Side Broadcasting, because we will be broadcasting it live. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. Thanks to everybody that supports this channel. If you don't like YouTube, what do you call them? Super chats. They do take 30% of it. You can donate directly. I have links in my description all the time. I never talk about them, actually. People just go in and find them, which is awesome. I appreciate that. People that go out of their way to try to find ways to support me. But I have links to my PayPal and Cash App in the description of every video. I also have a physical address, which I almost always forget to talk about. I have a P.O. box. I don't have it memorized, but I don't have the address memorized, but it is in the description of this video and every single video. But thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to the super chatters. Thanks to the moderators. God bless you. I'll catch you guys in the next stream, which will be from New York.